Hi everybody, this is Matt. Thanks for watching and welcome back. Well, a lot of regular viewers right now are going, why is Matt dressed the way that he is? That looks kind of unusual and kind of fancy. Well, I'm going to tell you here in just a second, and that second is up. So we're here to talk about holsters. I get asked a lot of questions by you, the viewer, on holsters. What kind of holster do I use? What am I doing? Am I going to use Kydex? Am I going to use leather? I'm not sure. There's a lot of holsters out there. Well, let me give you an example. This is pretty close to like a worst case scenario because what I'm currently carrying on my person is a very large firearm. It is a Beretta 92. And that's one reason why I have a cover garment, so I can show you what it is that I have. So if I step back away from the camera so you can see, can you actually see the footprint anywhere of that firearm? I mean, if you're an average person, are you going to be able to see where I'm carrying the firearm? No, because I have a cover garment. Where the firearm is, it happens to be right back here. And as you can see, this is a leather holster for this Beretta 92. Molds up against my body really nicely, which is one thing that I love about leather holsters. But leather holsters have their own challenges to them. So here's a full-size Beretta 92 that I'm carrying concealed. Now, if it came to a situation where I actually had to draw it, how do you typically draw from cover? Basically, I'm going to sweep in like this, grab it, and present out like this. I'm not presenting out fully. I'm keeping it back here in kind of a railed position, like a compressed ready, like this, but that's how you draw. So, full-size Beretta 92, magazine is fully loaded in this case, so the gun is heavy. So let's talk about this for, just one moment. Clearing my garment. One thing that I do like about leather, and I'm going to show you a particular habit that I have. Notice where my thumb is? My thumb is on top of the hammer. So as I'm feeling, I know that I don't have a material from my suit coat right here. And as I push down and I get this thing seated, my thumb is on that hammer, which would tell me if anything got snagged inside of here, which is really important for leather. Now, one thing that I can tell you that you're not going to pick up over video is the position of this, where it's at, is a little bit uncomfortable because it sits right on top of the hip bone. And that means that walking with it, not the most pleasant thing in the world. Can I sit down with it? Sure, but if I'm walking for any distance, I know for a fact that I've got this thing on. Now, what can you do about that? Well, you can actually move it. So as you'll see right here, I can shift the position just by simply shifting my belt. But right there, that made it more pronounced on the side of my hip as far as what I feel from the gun. Comfort is important, and as human beings, we all know that if it hurts, we stop doing it. And that's why a lot of people don't carry if they don't have a position that's comfortable for them, if the gun is too heavy. But then right here, this feels really good to me. I can walk, I'm not feeling it on my hip. It's just shifting it literally by an inch makes a huge difference. Now, can you really tell from the beginning of the video to this what it's like? Probably not. So let me just go ahead and get rid of this cover garment right now. We'll hang it up over here so you can see this. But one thing I like about it, I'm going to say it again, with leather, I like the way that it conforms. With Kydex, not so much, but there's a difference in leather holsters. And I know a question is going to come up, Matt, what kind of a holster is that? I got this quite some time ago from Wilson Combat. They happen to have like a sale for 20–30% off, so I purchased it then. That is the holster that I've got right now. Let me show you another holster. Here is a leather holster. This is a Glock 19, and it is inside of a Galco holster. Now the Galco holster is different than the one that I have from Wilson Combat, which is something that you need to pay attention to. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's really hard on video to show you things. The Galco holster is a little bit softer, a little bit more pliable than the one that I currently have on my hip. So I'll just go ahead and remove the Beretta. And I know that you can't see this, but I'm not going to try to take my belt off and everything else. What Wilson Combat did with this holster, if you look at my finger and how I'm pushing in here, this leather is hard. So I'm not really making much of a dent in it. It is not really pliable leather. It is hard. It is molded. With this, on the other hand, you can see that I'm compressing this quite readily. And so one big criticism of leather holsters is that they do compress, and that sometimes you can get debris in there. You can get pieces of the stitching in there, and it can cause an issue. So that's why we inspect the things that we use to carry with. So in the example of this Glock, I'm doing the same thing. I'm keeping my thumb right here like there is a hammer, and as that goes in, I could feel if anything started to bind up and this started going backwards. But the retention on this is very good. No issues. It retains well. It feels good on my hip. But if I ever had to reholster this, I would need to be very careful on reholstering, just simply because if this thing compresses on me, I'm going to have a harder time, which you don't run into that with Kydex. But I do like leather. Now, part of that comes from me way back in the day when I started working for a local sheriff's department. Leather was the only option that we had as far as holsters. So do I have a little bit of a bias towards leather? Yes, I do, and I will freely admit that. Let me go ahead and reholster the Beretta. Now, one holster that I particularly like is Kydex, but it is a Kydex leather hybrid. Now, this is a 6 Hour P229, and this is in a Kydex and leather holster. I got this when I purchased the gun. You see the Legion marking. This is a 229 Legion. From a retention standpoint, I really need to tighten up that retention screw just a little bit, but I like this holster. I like it a lot. I have worn this holster quite often for an entire day. And one reason is because it has been very, very comfortable for me to wear. And why is that? It's because of these leather wings. These leather wings help to mold this a little bit better to the sides of my body. And I like that. I like having that certain comfort factor that comes with that. So this particular holster, I do like, and I do use. When it comes to a plain Kydex holster, like for this Glock 43, a very minimalist holster right here. But as you see, it does everything it's supposed to do. It covers what? The trigger and the trigger guard. So it covers up this. It's got the guard on the inside, which I really like on holsters. And like I said, it is minimal. So when it comes to using this holster works just fine for me. No problems, no issues. I think I had to tighten up the retention on it once, but really The simplicity of this holster works for the Glock 43. And this is another one that I do carry, and it is a pure Kydex holster. So it works for me. Unfortunately, with holsters, anybody that has been around firearms for a long time knows that there are holsters that we will purchase that will simply sit in a drawer somewhere. And, you know, way back in the day when I worked at a gun shop, I guess it wasn't all that far way back in the day, but back when I worked in the gun shop, we had a complete container that was full of used holsters that people didn't want anymore. So a couple things to consider is A, if it creates pain, chances are, as human beings, we're not going to do it. It's that simple. It could be a car, a truck where the seat in it is just, you know, hard, stiff, really uncomfortable, or, you know, the shocks are bad in it. And what happens? You know, we don't want to drive the thing because every time that we're doing it, it hurts. And if it hurts, we don't. Same thing is true with this. Something like this Glock 43 gets carried an awful lot. Why? Because it's lightweight. It is thin. This is a real minimalistic approach to carrying an extremely lightweight package. On the other hand, if I have this Sig Sauer 229 Legion, it is a lot heavier. It is bigger. So since it weighs more, might not get carried as often. But the tried and true Glock 19, because of its weight, I carry this thing an awful lot. This for me is like a perfect combination, but this Glock 43 gets carried quite a bit. The Beretta 92 on my hip. While I love the Beretta 92 series, does this get carried very often? No. Why is that? Couple things. It weighs a lot, so I've got to have the belt really, really, really tight. And if I don't get it adjusted right, it digs into my hip and it hurts when I walk. Even where it's at right now. I know it's there. I can feel it on part of the hip, especially when I'm taking a forward step just like this. There, you know, there it just let me know that I've got it on. And since I have some pain that I deal with after my surgery and stuff like that, just doesn't get carried quite so much. So, love the gun, but you know, I'm pretty practical, and there you have it. So those are things that, you know, unfortunately you can't experience through video, but I'm trying to explain it the best way that I know how. So it's up to individual choices, but before you run out and you purchase something, think about it. And if you get a chance, go to the range, you know, pick up something, see what the weight of it is, you know, try something before you buy. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, everybody have a good one. And of course, be safe out there.